Engineers, Miss Clifford here. For our unit on electricity, I decided to bring in an expert, my son, Dakota Clifford. I hope you enjoy his videos and all the lessons that go along with it. Good luck.
Hey guys, my name's Dakota. I'm Miss Clifford's son. Today we're going to talk about energy. So energy is all around us. It's something that we use every day to do all kinds of different important things in our lives. We use it to drive our cars, we use it to heat up our food, we use it to power our phones and our computers, and we use it to turn on lights. So let's talk about some of the different types of energy. All right, so the first type of energy that we're going to talk about is electrical energy. Electrical energy is energy that is moving through a conductor. That's something that we'll talk about probably in a different lesson. But electrical energy is essentially electrons bouncing off of each other along a conductor to transfer it from where the energy is being created to where the energy is being used. The perfect example of this, or the most common example that you guys are going to think of, is electrical energy moving through power lines to get to your house, and then you can plug into an outlet to access that electrical energy. Okay, so here's an example of electrical energy. I've just plugged this light into the outlet. At the moment it's not on, but when I pull the switch, I complete the circuit. That allows the electrons to flow through the wires in the cord and then up into the light bulb, creating light, which turns it into another form of energy that we'll talk about in a second. The next type of energy that we're going to talk about is thermal energy. So energy can come in many different forms, and one of those forms, again, is thermal energy. Thermal energy is heat energy. So think like the word thermometer. That's where the word thermal, or where the word thermometer comes from, is the word thermal. What we're looking at right now in front of me is we're actually creating thermal energy by heating up this pot of water. So we've taken electrical energy that's running through our circuits in our house, and we're heating up this pot of water, creating heat and creating thermal energy. For this next type of energy, we're going to go ahead and take a look back at our lamp example. What we're going to talk about now is radiant energy, which is very closely related to the thermal energy that we were talking about just a second ago. Radiant energy is when electrical energy, when we get radiant energy by passing electrical energy through something that then turns it into another form of energy. In this example, we're using electrical energy from the outlet, passing it through the light bulb, and it's creating both light and heat coming off the bulb. That's why when you touch a light bulb, it feels hot. So be careful if you're touching a light bulb. If you're looking at a light bulb like this, what's happening is the electricity is flowing through the bulb, and then it's passing through the filaments in there and creating light. Most conventional light bulbs, or old school light bulbs, create a lot of heat and just a little bit of light. Newer LED bulbs create almost exclusively light with very little heat, which is why it makes them more efficient, because you need a lot less electricity to light up your house. Probably the most important and everyday example that you'll see of radiant energy is the energy that we get from the sun, which is basically the source of most energy and life on Earth. When we look at energy from the sun, we're seeing radiant and heat energy, or light and heat energy, that's coming all the way from the sun and hitting our planet. That energy is what we use to power things like solar panels that we can then create electricity out of. That energy also is the energy that plants use to grow, that then gets translated into lots of other forms of energy, like the food that we eat or the fuel that we use to power our cars. We see chemical energy in all kinds of everyday things that we use. Things like batteries that we use to power our cell phones, our remote controls, or toys, or things like that. They're a great example of chemical energy. We also see chemical energy in bigger batteries like this, ones that we use to power our cars or start our cars. It's the same exact type of energy. It's just a difference between chemicals that creates that energy. Another great example of chemical energy is the energy that's in the fuel that we burn to power things like our cars, our homes, or airplanes. Chemical energy like that can be found in things like gasoline, natural gas, coal, and propane. And that's another way that energy is stored in a chemical, but that we can then use somehow to turn it into something useful. Let's see what happens when we mix these two chemicals and what kind of energy we get as a result of this chemical reaction. That was quite a bit of energy that was created as a result of that reaction. And that's that simple reaction between an acid and a base. Okay, so far we've talked about electrical, thermal, radiant, and chemical energy. The last one, and maybe the one that we're going to have the most fun with today, is mechanical energy. So mechanical energy is the conversion of electricity, or electrical energy, into motion or movement. It's one of my favorites as an engineer. I like to see electrical energy converted into this mechanical energy. The example that I'm going to use today is this contraption that I've rigged up here, where I've taken a spoon and attached it to the end of this drill. So the battery on my drill is chemical energy, just like a battery always has, is chemical. Then, when I pull the trigger on the drill, it turns it into, that electricity runs through the drill and powers a motor, which is then creating mechanical energy. Watch what happens when I use this mechanical energy to throw a marshmallow at Mrs. Clifford. Go ahead, stop. All right, now take a look at a couple of these clips of my dad and brother trying to take advantage of this mechanical energy to catch these marshmallows that are being flung from the drill. Ready? Oh! Oh!
Ready?
Ready? Woo! Alright, so we've talked about 5 different types of energy today. There's an important concept that ties all of this information together. It's part of what we call laws of science, and it's the idea of conservation of energy. It's the second law of thermodynamics, which is a big word, but what that means, or what this law says, is that energy can not be created or destroyed, it can only change forms. So let's take a look at an example of the law of conservation of energy in a really specific example here, looking at this circuit board. Alright guys, that's all I've got for you today on energy. I hope that you learned something and had fun while you were doing it. I definitely encourage you guys to keep studying science and research and learn all that you can. It's a fascinating field and there's always more to learn about it.